everyone. I'm Sujatha from Zoho Corporation. I'm part of a team called Zoho Labs, which is the central R&D team focusing on AI research. I lead the division which focuses on retrofitting AI in security and ops. Time for some rapid fire questions, and I'll be answering them. How many cups of coffee do you drink per day? Two. Favorite Netflix show? Suits. What time of the day are you most inspired? Morning person. So mornings inspire me. How many hours of sleep can you survive on? 5. So today I'm here to talk about implementing AI, how SMEs can benefit from implementing AI in their workflow, in their processes. What are some key steps to achieve this? What are some good areas to retrofit AI and the path ahead? So I'll give you a quick picture on how the current state of AI is. Differences on how there's a lot of difference on the consumer space versus the enterprise space. Are there any key observations that we face? So one interesting thing that we notice, these large language models, ChatGPT, especially that's been the hype, right? So these have made huge inroads in the consumer space, whereas typically the enterprises have a late mover advantage. So one reason we observe is that in the consumer space, the data availability kind of offsets the compute cost that comes with these large language models or large AI models per se. But shift that to the enterprise landscape where you have stringent data regulations, privacy regulations coming in. So data availability by itself is going to be scarce. So it is definitely not going to offset the compute cost liability. And we only need narrow models that do one thing better because there's a lot of context when we talk about enterprises. So for example, a sentiment model that is sitting in the service delivery space is going to be different when compared to the sentiment model that's sitting in the email software. Because in the sentiment model in the service delivery space is typically going to look at shorter texts. The vocabulary is going to be different. Whereas email is going to be more likely a longer form of communication. So something has to be as a sentiment analysis model if it's going to differ when contexts are changing. So it only makes sense to have narrow models which do one thing really good with really good accuracy. So talking about accuracy is extremely paramount in the enterprise landscape because the prediction that is made by the AI model, a business decision is going to rest on this. So for example, let's take a classic case of recommendation algorithm, which we would have encountered in day-to-day life, right? So we are part of a lot of social networking sites, and most of them have a recommendation algorithm plugged in to recommend you friends or people that you know. So for example, person A, person B, person C are part of a social network. And the recommendation algorithm now wants to recommend friends to people. So person A knows person B. Person B is friends with person C. And now the recommendation algorithm has decided to recommend person A as a friend to person C. In reality, person A and person C might not even be aware of each other. But just because a recommendation has come up on the screen, it is not going to be of huge impact. But shift that to an enterprise landscape where a sentiment analysis model mispredicts the sentiment, or an outage detection model is trying to say, hey, there's an 80% chance of a server outage. So these decisions have to be really accurate because a business decision is going to be made on top of AI's prediction. So in the enterprise landscape, it is not about how large the model is or how large language model have you deployed. It is about having really accurate, narrow models that understand the context and are really accurate. So let's look at the different types of AI technologies that can be beneficial to the SME segment. So one good starting point would be to plug in AI in the customer satisfaction segment or customer support segment. Let's look at how AI can be beneficial at every step in the customer support segment. So let's say a customer raises a ticket, saying they're facing certain issue and they want to help debug it. Most likely, it would be about pulling out relevant articles from the knowledge base, pulling out relevant articles from the well-documented FAQs, understanding what the customer is trying to convey, and pass them the relevant articles and ask them to try out what is being documented in the article. So here the NLP-based models can come into play. They can understand customers' query and automatically pull out articles from the knowledge base or FAQs and ask the customer to try them out. Right. So let's say the customer is now not happy with what's being documented. They've already tried and still the issue persists. Now it's about assigning it to the correct support agent so that the ticket is resolved at the earliest, so that and eventually SLA is not violated. So the ML models here, the AI models can help you route it to the agent whose expertise matches with what the customer is facing an issue with. Right now, it is routed to the customer, to the agent, ticket is resolved. And generally, after a ticket is resolved, we ask the customer or the person out there to fill out a survey asking them how smooth the issue resolution was. So this is where sentiment analysis model come into play. They can give you a good picture on what the sentiment of the customer is. Were they positive? Were they negative? Were they disappointed with the resolution, or are they extremely happy? So after all of this, at the end of the day, most likely the supervisor or the administrator would like to have a concise overview on how many tickets were handled, what was the overall sentiment, and so on. So this is where the AI-powered insights can come into play. So the AI-powered dashboard can give you a good picture of the overall sentiment of the tickets, how many tickets were handled, the mean time for resolution, and they can also, the LLMs here, they can also give you a crisp summary on what has happened. Let's say a ticket was very important, it was marked as critical. Instead of the administrator having to sift through the entire conversation, AI models, LLMs here can generate a crisp summary of what the entire thread was about. So these are some critical areas where AI, when plugged into these, can help SMEs derive a great value. So here are some initial steps that the SMEs can take to explore and experiment with AI. So one good starting point would be to ensure there is a streamlining of process that happens. So for example, typically conversations with the accounts team would happen over email, but the conversations with facilities team might happen over a call. So for example, they might you might call the facilities team to say AC at this room is not working, at this particular location is not working, or there's an issue with the lighting at this location. So typically, you would call the facilities team and say, hey, there's an issue. But let's say the issue was fixed and again it happens, and some other person has come in to handle the facilities now because the earlier person shift got over. Now, because none of this was documented, none of this was digitized, the second person might not even know the history of what has happened earlier. So, for AI to even chime in, it is important that all processes leave a digital footprint. Only then can AI come in and act on top of it. So, this interdepartmental digital divide, this can be facilitated by using low-code, no-code platforms. For example, if all the procurement, inventory management is happening in a spreadsheet, it's a good idea to change that or to port to a low code, no code platform which has AI capabilities powered. So that at the end of the day, you know how many items were procured, how many were faulty, how likely is it to get faulty given the past history of data. So this is where AI models can come in and help derive values out of it. So now that these processes are automated, these processes are streamlined. Now the next step would be to set up a basic automation in place. So now once the basic automation is in place, AI can piggyback on the existing automation to help derive value out of it. So the next question would be, how can SMEs identify areas in their organization where AI can help speed up processes? So one good thing would be to automate the job that is most routine. Because, hey, come on, nobody likes to do the same job over and over again. So a good starting point would be to look out for repetitive time-consuming tasks. These are the prime candidates where there's a lot of scope for error introduction. So, like I said before, the support segment is one critical area because customer tickets keep coming in, and agents have to handle it on a day-to-day basis. And like I illustrated previously, that will be a good starting point. Another area would be to introduce AI in the administration segment. So, for example, generally people would be traveling for various business reasons, and they would have to reimburse the company has to reimburse the expenses. So typically, this reimbursement process would sound like someone goes on a business trip, they have to come back, submit the physical copy of the bill to the administration department, who would then probably make a data entry in the expense management software. Data entry, as in they have to manually sift through piles of bills, fill in fields like the date on which the bill was generated, the total amount, the place where the certain expenditure was made, and so on. So all of this is a very mundane task which people honestly do not enjoy doing on a day-to-day basis. So this is a perfect candidate for AI to fit in. So using techniques like OCR, one can automatically digitize the receipts. So there is this feature called receipt digitization in Zoho Expense. So Zoho Expense is Zoho's expense management software, where one can just take a photo of the bill. The bill is automatically, the receipt or the bill is automatically digitized. The important fields such as the date, total amount, merchant name, the items, all of these are fetched and automatically an entry is made in the expense management software. So this saves hours of time and totally reduces the error that could possibly be introduced in the system. So let's look at data consideration for AIs in SME. Uh, like I said previously, with respect to data and training AI models, it's generally the more the merrier is the approach. But when we shift to the enterprise landscape, where there are a lot of data regulations, privacy regulations in place, one cannot get hold of data, I mean, vast amount of data for training the AI model. So a good starting point would be to use commercial open source licensed data sets, pre-train a model on them, and then fine-tune the model on real-world data. So this way, you strike a balance between the much needed large data that is required for better results, but yet you do fine tune them on the real world data so it has the much needed context. Another area to focus on is on using techniques like few shot, transfer learning, wherein models are tweaked particularly to work in low data setting. So this will be the path going forward. Now let's look into some ethical considerations businesses should address to develop AI responsibly. One thing is transparency is extremely crucial. So it's not just about predicting that an outage is going to happen or saying that the customer is sounding negative. It's about being accountable to the decision that's been made. Like I said earlier, it's a business decision that's resting on AI's prediction. So it's important models also come with an explanation aspect so that it's easier to trust the model and there's transparency involved. The other aspect is privacy. So, in today's privacy aware world, it's important that one does not inadvertently process any sensitive data or any personally identifiable information for the betterment of AI models. The other one is the models have to be strictly evaluated for bias and fairness. So AI systems can inadvertently perpetuate any historical any bias that was present in historical data. So when the model is tested, it is not only has to be benchmarked against accuracy, it has to be tested against bias and fairness. Lastly, it's important to ensure one's data is used only for the betterment of their model. So what I mean here is one customer's data should be used for training a model that's used only for that customer, and that data shouldn't be used for the betterment of model of some other customer. So keeping all of these in mind, it will be a good starting point to develop responsible AI. Now that we've seen the different areas where AI can be retrofitted, the different AI technologies that one can make use of, the data considerations, and now that AI has been implemented too, how does one measure the ROI of AI in the SME segment? So one thing one has to keep in mind is AI is not the silver bullet here, wherein you plug in AI one day and the very next day it starts creating wonders. So it's important to set clear achievable goals, at least for the initial rollout. So let us say you've plugged in AI in the customer support segment, aim for a 10% decrease in the ticket resolution time, or aim for a 10% increase in the number of tickets that one handles. So these are some realistic, quantifiable goals that one can set, and one can also measure the progress over a period of time. And once these numbers keep increasing, start gathering feedback on what people feel about the prediction of AI models. In case there is some discrepancies in the AI model's predictions and people feel it is the other way around, use this feedback for the betterment of model. So by doing this, there's a continuous process that helps you in gathering feedback, and this also in turn helps make the model's accuracy better. So coming to the last segment on how AI can transform the way SMEs operate and what skills would be most relevant for employees in the age of AI. So AI, as we've seen, it can automate routine tasks. So there would definitely be a productivity boost because previously time that was held up in doing routine tasks, automated tasks can now be automated using AI. So that valuable time is now freed up, which can now be used for strategic activities. Also, AI can help derive valuable insights. So, these insights can play a crucial role in informed decision making, which in turn can reduce scope for bias in the decision making process. So, in essence, AI can help SMEs to operate more efficiently, make smarter decisions, and stay much more relevant in the always evolving marketplace. So, talking about the skills that will remain important for employees in the age of AI. So, undoubtedly, problem solving skills and critical thinking skills will be paramount. So, AI can handle repetitive tasks, it can analyze data, but still, there's a human who's needed there to interpret the results or understand requirements and turn that into a solution. So, make strategic decisions, solve complex problems. So, all of these do need a human in the loop. So this critical thinking is what is going to be paramount no matter what AI is being incorporated. Also, emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills are going to play a crucial role because it is not just about writing code. So today, AI can help you in writing pieces of code that one took a long time to write. But the more crucial task here is to understand business requirements, translate that into solutions, do a lot of testing and deployment. All of these are a complete package. So for all of these to function, so in essential technological proficiency and human-centered skills will lead the way in shaping the future of the work. Yeah, so that brings to the end of the session. Thank you. It was really nice interacting here. Thank you.